This is my presentation on legal, ethical, and regulation issues in the creative media. The first film that I picked was Hate Crime, as it is about neo-Nazis invading a Jewish family home and sexually, sexually abusing them, and just basically terrorizing them just because they're Jewish. And the physical and sexual abuse in the film is accompanied by strong verbal racist abuse, and there's little context to why any of this is happening. So the violence on screen is like beyond the limits, because you can't really you can't go show all this violence and then not to be like a meaning behind it or any explanation at all. So at the end of the film, two attackers who escaped were subsequently apprehended, and that one of the surviving family members was released from captivity. The board carefully considered unremitting hate crime, which focuses on physical and sexual abuse. However, the work is just beyond, and it even beyond, and it goes basically goes over all the guidelines and would risk potential harm and would just be unacceptable for the broad public. So these are some pictures. You can see it just instantly very like graphic and just disgusting in general. But it's also like an eye opener that stuff like this can happen, and still, I guess, sometimes does happen. So the board said about the film that they had like lots of concerns about it, and it went through different cuts. However, the fact that the unacceptable content, um, just got rejected, and this means that there were no cinema release, but you can still find it on the internet. However, because of no cinema release, this film isn't that well known or talked about. So the next film I picked is Grotesque, and this is a Japanese language horror. So if it's Japanese, you know it's going to be bad, and it consists of sexual assault, humiliation, and extreme torture of a man and a woman, as the couple have been abducted and sexually violated, and there's amputation. It goes completely graphic, and the film ends with the killer shooting that victim. So same as hate crime, there's no proper um like happy ending. I mean, yeah, the film is graphic, but everybody needs like a good conclusion, and it just the key pleasure of there's just no like enjoyment in watching a film like this, and it just complete a spectacle of sadism, and it goes in it goes horrific, and it's like minimal narrative or character development. It basically goes a film of torture. So the board in making this decision whether the work was suitable for classification, the BBFC applies that the criteria sets out, and we're going with the guidelines. However, the guidelines they went above, and no matter what kind of cuts, the BBFC had serious concerns about this and decided to reject it. And you can even tell by the cover how graphic this is. So, to tell you more, the BBFC is uh, the BBFC are obligated under the Video Recording Act of 1984 and have a special regard to the likelihood of any harm that may be caused to the viewer, or basically the risk of harm for the dehumanizing views, and basically they just approve if a film should be released or not, and give it like its age, so 18, 15, 12A and so on. So grotesque and hate crime were rejected as they wouldn't fit into any of the criteria or go with the guideline, but every film has to go through like the BBFC, or like they have to get a certificate to say that this is allowed to be released. So we also have to talk about copyright, and Alana Del Rey song, which she called Get Free, has similarity to the Radiohead song Creep. So in it, So there've been lots of like controversy and like court and just basically because of copyright, because there's like a there's like there's like a different similar sounds in Lana Del Rey songs I did with Creep, and because Creep did it first, they're suing her, and it gives a whole complete debate. So the regularity and professional bodies are the BBFC, and advertising standards as you want company to advertise, well, have their adverts to be, don't know what I'm saying, let me redo that. So advertising standards as well. So basically that means that different company will go to different films and say, hey, can my advert sponsor like your like film, and so on. So the legal issues that I've talked about in the PowerPoint is like the different acts, copyright, and also contract. And the ethical issues I've talked about are like sensitive and social issues, representation of gender and religion, and basically the professional body codes and different linguistic language. And I've also talked about the BBC and the ASA, and how they won't support films that are rejected as well. And that is it, so I hope you may have liked this presentation.